Okay, so here we are in functions or advanced functions for this part of the course. Now there's not really a whole lot that I can show you per se in this area because functions make up the majority of how you use all or most of these low-code, no-code platforms. So in the earlier video that I talked about just functions as a basic, I needed you to understand how functions work and what the goal of a function is, okay? So let's hop over into the browser where let's look at a couple of these low-code, no-code solutions, right? So using our earlier example where I showed you the collection where I had a table with 3 columns, and I also showed you another table earlier where, you know, when I was talking about functions, like maybe one of the, well, let's back up. So Zapier will take information from one system and connect it up with another system, usually for the purposes of moving data across or automating system A to system B, right? And so that's typically the way most people use Zapier. So what happens if system A only has a single field, like maybe your CRM system? This would be ridiculous, but let's just say it happened this way. Maybe your CRM system only has a full name field. It doesn't have a separate first name. It doesn't have a separate last name. But your accounting system, maybe it's QuickBooks. And anytime somebody goes and fills out your marketing form, the information gets deposited into your CRM. And it always fills out the full name. And it doesn't fill out first name, last name. But your accounting system, when you're making an invoice, needs to have the first and full names separately. It doesn't have anywhere to put the full name value. So you have to split this up. So in Zapier, if we start looking at, you know, functions for advanced functions, we need to figure out, okay, what do we have to do here? And so there's this thing, it's called modify text formats in Zaps. And so there's this little, you know, formatter step that you can add. And you set up this action, and it's a transform, right, item, and you will split the text. And so that's essentially what you're doing here. You're doing a transform, you're splitting the text, but this is a function. And so if you didn't take this course and you didn't know that you need to accomplish this task with a function, you may be a little bit lost. And so again, that's what the purpose of this course was. And so you'll go through the low-code, no-code platform that you're using, and you'll search based on these understandings of how or what you would do to pull off certain, you know, needs in your low-code, no-code platform based on where you are in the application at the time. And so you can see here is a great example. So you have a full name. It's Jane Doe. And so essentially what you want to do is you want to split this thing out. And so here's some optional find, replace, or split with special characters, and you're seeing here that we're going to split it, and we're going to split the input as the full name, right? Now keep in mind this is probably going to need to be done inside of a loop. If you have multiple records, if you're just doing it one time, you don't need the loop then, right? Remember? And so here is the separator. You're saying I want to split this field on the space, and then let's go ahead and transform your text. And so what that'll do is it'll transform it. Now you'll go from one field to 2 fields, and as you move that data from system A to system B, you now have 2 separate fields, not just a single field. And so this is an idea of an advanced function. If we come over here to Microsoft Power Platform, and we're looking at the documentation for Canvas, I want you to take a look on this left sidebar. There are, starting at A all the way down to Z, these are, or Y actually, these are all of the functions that are in the Power Platform. And a lot of these are also going to work in Power Automate and some other areas of the Power Platform. Not all of them will. There's a whole other set of documentation for Power Automate. But in any event, I just wanted to show you that they're here. Here's another low-code, no-code solution. It's called Airtable. It's like Excel on steroids. You can actually build a full database in the cloud and do a bunch of really cool transforms. You can add forms to your website. There's all kinds of cool things that you can do with this low-code, no-code platform. And they have automations built in and a bunch of other stuff. But here you go. You've got formulas in here as well. And so this is just like the formulas in Excel. And so this is why you'll hear a lot of low-code, no-code platforms or building apps as low-code, no-code as a citizen developer is popular, because if you can use PowerPoint and you can use Excel, then you can pretty much use a low-code, no-code platform. And what is Excel? just a grid, and it means you have some data, and that data you need to transform or do some something to that information. How do you do it? You do it with functions, not just any function, but typically advanced functions, and you deal with all of the parameters and all of the things that come into play. And so as you go through, let's jump back over here to let's just say clear. Let's pick that one. Right? And so we'll go through the description, and if we come over here to syntax, it shows us what it needs to use. So here's the function, it's called collect, and then we have the parentheses, and this is the parameters, right? It needs two parameters. The first parameter is called a data source. And so we've got to figure, okay, the data source, let's read this here, it's required, and then item or items is required. And what is an item? It's one or more records or tables to add to the data source. So this is essentially an operation that's going to that's going to collect information, and it's going to put it to, whatever our connection is to a database, and then we're going to ingest items into it because we're going to collect those items. And so that's what this is here. So that's how you go ahead and understand what these advanced functions are and how to use them, and you're going to have to go through the documentation, and then sometimes you get examples of how to use it, right? That information is all left out here, and there's all these different scenarios in which to use it. And again, all of the online guides provide all of this information on how to use the formulas and what they're used for, and like this is telling you how to write a formula. And anyway, so you've gone through this course, you know what formulas are and functions and things of that nature. So I think you're now well prepared to get your feet dirty and wet with the low-code, no-code platform. That's it for this video. We'll see you in the next one.